Thank you, Esther, and thank you everyone for being here. I'm very proud to be here with this fine coalition of individuals. My name is Martin Quesada. I am a state senator out of District 29, representing the people of Maryville and Glendale. With everything that's going on here today in the news and in politics, you've got the Trump administration doing something every single day. You've got the education ballot initiative being kicked off the ballot by the Supreme Court. You've got Judge Kavanaugh's confirmation hearings happening now. You've got Senator Kyle being appointed to a vacancy in the U.S. Senate. With everything going on, it's easy for your elected officials to slide this issue under the rug and cause the public to not focus on what is a core issue happening in the state of Arizona and in the United States of America. It's easy to lose track of everything that's happening in the news here today, and that is a specific strategy of those that are in power right now to ensure that you forget and you do not pay attention to every issue that's happening here today. But before politics, before appointments, before education, before courtrooms, we have the sacred bond of a parent and a child. That is one of our core sacred values as a nation, as a people, as a state, as a country. And right now, that core sacred value is being violated here in the United States of America. Our nation has violated and betrayed those values, and our administration here in Arizona has failed to give these issues the priorities that they deserve. This entire situation has exposed a lack of regulatory oversight over these facilities that are housing these children right now, these children that were ripped from the arms of their parents, and for us to not take more action to ensure that we fix every single problem that we have seen that has come to light because of this situation is a complete failure on the leadership of those in power here in the state of Arizona. This should be everyone's number one priority because it is such a core value of ours. Number one priority, whether you are a governor, whether you are a state legislator, whether you are a congressman, whether you are a local school board member, whether you are a parent, a teacher, or just an average citizen voter or non-citizen voter, or non-citizen. This should be a number one priority for everyone in the state of Arizona. The demands that this coalition has put together here, what this provides is solutions to some of the problems that we are facing here. There are things that can be done right now to fix some of these problems. And what we need is for every elected official right now to pay attention to these solutions and take action on these solutions right now. So my ask to the people of Arizona, my ask to everyone that's watching right now, my ask to everyone that is focusing on this issue, because it is your core value, is to call your elected official, whether it is your governor, whether it is your legislator, whether it is your city council member, whether it is your local school board member, call them and tell them that their silence in this issue is complicity in this issue, is complicity in ripping kids out of the arms of their parents, housing them in cages, and ensuring that they never see their parents again. That silence, that lack of action is unacceptable, and you will be held accountable in this November's elections. Yes. I want everyone to remember that we are better than a broken bureaucracy. We are better than a Congress that has the ability to act but refuses to act. We are better than one man in the White House. And this coalition right now is going to make sure that happens. Thank you.
Beautifully stated, Senator. Thank you. Our next speaker is Maricopa County Supervisor Steve Gallardo.
Thank you, Esther. For the record, Maricopa County Supervisor Steve Gallardo, District 5, Southwest portion of Maricopa County. Folks, what you see in back of us here, or back of me right now, is a coalition of leaders, elected official, religious leaders coming together to say, we have an issue not only in Arizona, but across this country. And where are you, Governor Ducey? Where are you right now on this particular issue? That is a question that all of us and voters across the state of Arizona are looking for answers. Newly appointed Senator Kyle, where are you on this issue? Where are you? We already heard the comments from our past U.S. Senator John McCain when this came about. Now we need our new senator, U.S. Senator, to step up and make his voice known. The fact is we have kids right now that have suffered a massive abuse, mentally and physically. This is a form of torture in this country, and we need to put an end to it. We need real solutions to a very difficult problem. We need to be able to have our state government as well as our national government come down and resolve what is going on. Protect the most vulnerable individuals in our world, our children. These kids are separated from their parents. They're scared. They don't know what's going to happen next. The mental abuse these kids are suffering right now is a form of torture. That is not an American value. We need to put an end to it. We need our governor, our members of Congress, particularly our U.S. senators, to step up and say enough is enough. Let's push back against the administration that continues to torture and punish our kids and our families. Let's put an end to this. Today is only another day, but I guarantee you, Governor Ducey, we are going to remember in November. People across this country and across Arizona are going to remember this. Our members of Congress, we will remember. If you remain silent, as Senator Quesada indicated, if you remain silent, we will make our voices loud and clear at the ballot box. Yes. We call for many of these demands to happen right now. We want a 24-hour monitor in those facilities at all times to make sure they're in full compliance, not only with state law, but federal law. We want to make sure that these young kids are protected, that they are taken care of and they are reunited with their families as soon as possible. And until these demands are met, until we make sure these kids are put back with their families and are protected, we will continue to be loud, we will continue to make our voices known, and we will keep our elected officials accountable. Governor Ducey, step up, do the right thing for Arizona. Our federal government, do the right thing for our country. Let's take care of our kids.
Yes.
Thank you, Supervisor Gallardo. Our next speaker is Dr. Allison Steyer, a staff psychologist for the Southwest Human Development.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today about the separation of migrant children from their parents at our southern border. It will likely not surprise you to know that science bears out our inner wisdom, which tells us that a child's stable relationship with at least one loving, committed, and protective adult is crucial to their healthy development. The survival of our species depends, in fact, on the robust agreement we have that the younger, less experienced, and more vulnerable member of our species, the child, will seek and find comfort and security through dependable access to one or perhaps a small few older, wiser, and more competent members of our species, known as parents. Parents are as impelled to protect their children as children are to seek protection when they feel threatened or fearful. That's the deal we have. When this arrangement is disrupted and the parent is lost to the child permanently or for a long period of time, someone must stand in the stead of the parent. Someone, not shifts of workers, not everybody, but nobody. Someone who cares to learn the child, to develop a relationship, to track and respond to the child's emotions, needs, preferences, aversions, sensitivities, fears. You see now the psychological and emotional predicament for children being held in detention centers without their parents. The confusion and distress we know they are experiencing under other circumstances would be soothed or attenuated by their parents. But in this case, the usual source of their comfort was made suddenly unavailable, and, insult to injury, they are further without adequate substitute care. It is the quite cruel exploitation of children's developmental Achilles heel, which is the actual or threatened loss of their parent. From the standpoint of science, we know quite a bit about the consequences of the forced separation of children from their parents. It is a particularly destructive form of what is called toxic stress. Everyone has stress. I have stress right now. But toxic stress is intense, repetitive, or unrelenting, and is endured by children without the support and buffering of a trusted adult. The world has a tragic trove of stories, observations, and data about families forced apart, from enslaved African families, Native American families in the 19th century, the children of the Holocaust, the children evacuated from British cities during World War II to escape the German air raids, and too many more. We have studies over the past few decades that have used brain scans, analyses of the stress hormones in saliva, and other physiological measures. We have hundreds of studies now. We do not need any more data. The conclusion is unequivocal. Separating children from their parents is harmful to them, period. Children in this condition may suffer anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts and behavior, loss of appetite, trouble sleeping, nightmares, withdrawal, frequent bouts of crying, aggressive behavior, concentration and memory problems, setbacks in learning, and greater susceptibility to illness because of their overtaxed immune systems. These symptoms have been shown in children who have been held in detention for even brief periods of time. And early adversity has a long reach. Research has documented long-lasting psychological and physical consequences of separating children from their parents. Developing brains that are bathed in high levels of stress hormones for long periods of time suffer consequences in terms of the negative impact on their actual structure, their brain architecture, and their functioning. All of the children who were or who are separated from their parents and detained are at risk for the long-term effects of toxic stress, which include both mental health problems and physical or medical problems, such as diabetes, cancer, heart and lung diseases, and a significantly shortened lifespan. None of the children are so old or so young as to be somehow exempt from the immediate or long-term negative effects of their separation and detention. We cannot take solace in those thoughts. They are fantasy. They are wishful thinking. But let us turn our attention to ourselves for a moment. We adults who are charged by evolution and perhaps other belief systems we hold with the protection of children. We are talking today about an egregious failure to protect, to the detriment of the emotional, psychological, and physical welfare of children now and perhaps a long time to come. We must face that fact squarely and act decisively to change it. What I am saying is not about politics. Don't let anyone tell you that this is ultimately about politics. This is about science, the science of growing up, what we know that children need to grow up and grow well, and the real and lasting damage we adults can do if we've got a mind to do it. We must be better. We must be better than this. Thank you.
It must be better. Yes, it must be better. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Steyer. Well said. Our next speaker will be Elias Bourrois, representing Chicanos por la Causa.
My name is Elias Bourrois. I'm a clinical supervisor in the Behavioral Health Department of Chicanos por la Causa. And doubling down on what Dr. Steyer was commenting, the effects of separation at such an early age, in such a traumatizing environment, we've yet to see the long-term effects of these events on the poor lives of these young, innocent children. We're only here advocating on the behalf of their health, their mental health, their overall health. You know, a kid is an individual, and it's a multiple needs that need to be met. One of them, if not the most important, the need of a bond, of a loving bond, of a bond with a loved one such as their parent. And that bond is fragile as well. And that in the circumstances of a traumatizing journey across the border and the separation from their parents, it is as traumatizing as any other event, such as the separation from any other loved one, the tragic loss of a loved one, or even an event of war. We see this as a tragic wound to a demographic that is vulnerable, innocent, and indefensible in this situation. We ask for the Congress and our politicians to act swiftly on this. This matter cannot wait. This is an emergency. Day by day, this trauma continues to be perpetuated in environments that are cold, that do not offer any warmth, and that continue to only traumatize our children. Act now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elias. Our final speaker, a most respected person, community activist in our community, is Petra Falcon, the Executive Director of Promise, Arizona.
Well, I want to thank the press community for being here today, because it's so important to get this story far and wide. But more importantly, want to thank the courage of the Uncage and Reunite Families Coordinating Committee, because it's their courage that's keeping this story broadly advertised and talked about all across the country. Nieces and nephews, we have newborn children, we have extended family members, neighbors that all have children. I'm the mother of 5 and the grandmother to 6 boys. And this morning, as I walked out of the house and thinking about this press conference, I brought the pictures of my 6 grandchildren. They're 6th generation children here in Arizona. And one of them, one of my youngest grandchild, his name is Salvador. One morning he woke up fearing that he would be separated from his family, that he would be deported because of the color of his skin. Luckily, he is 6th generation, and perhaps that will never happen for him. But it's happened to too many children, and it is a non-negotiable that any child should be separated from a family member, and this needs to stop. Yes. Stop now. And Promise Arizona is here today to join this coordinating committee to ensure and to demand that our governor create an investigative committee, independent committee that addresses the licensing of organizations that are keeping our children separated. And number 2, I don't think that any community organization should fall under the umbrella of being a community organization that receives government dollars to do this work. I think that is morally wrong.
Yes. Morally wrong.
Again, in Arizona, we live with the legacy of a lot of stains. We recently had to deal with shelters.pä. We had to deal with SB 1070. In our recent history, we know that there's been stories of the Indian schools, of the terror that young families had to endure with the separation of their children for long periods of time, or the Japanese internment centers in this state. And now we're going to add another state to that legacy of not treating individual young innocent children without their due process of their rights, without the loving care of their mother or father or a family member. I want us all right now, I want all of you to close your eyes and think of the children in your family or in your extended family. Close your eyes and think for a minute of them being caged up away from you, you not being able to kiss them or hug them or know that they are okay or eating or free from heat, free from cold, free from abuse. Just think of that for a moment. Just think about that for a moment. And how that makes you feel right now. My stomach is turning right now because of thinking that any child has to suffer that kind of pain. And it is immoral. It is not part of our American values. It is not part of what we hold up important in our community, and that's family. And that's community. And right now we are under fire because community organizations are doing this work as an extension of organizations or institutions like ICE. So either we put a stop to it now, or we need to take other action. October 9th is the deadline for voter registration in the state of Arizona. And I think all of our organizations have a lot of work to do. And we've all got to walk together, making sure that as many people get registered, but then follow the line to the polls on election day this year. Because we've got to elect people that represent the values and the morals of our families and communities of this state and this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Petra. We will be following up on a date to be determined with a rally where every citizen who cares about this particular crisis is invited to join us. We thank you for coming today, and we thank everyone that is helping to do something about this terrible crisis. Are there any questions for any of the speakers?
I guess some of our elected officials. What's the actual plan to get these demands to the governor? Do you have his ear? Do you think that there's actually going to be even listening?
We have a letter prepared for the governor that we will deliver today. Right now, right after the press conference. Any other questions? Thank you. All the speakers are available for interviewing.
I mean, I feel like yours is probably the actual list of demands. Yes. Can you have a